Hi folks, and welcome to the channel. So you've decided that you wanted to get into woodworking, you like the bits and pieces that you've done, and you want to set up your own little shop, but you really don't know where to start. You don't know what you need and what you don't need. So what I'm going to talk about today is, as a first timer or even somebody who's been doing it for a while but you're still not sure what you need, I'm just going to give you a few little tips and things like that on different things that you're going to need to get yourself by. So the first thing I would say is you don't need to have every little machine that you see people using on YouTube and things like that. The first thing you need to do is you need to work out what sort of work you want to do, because whatever work it is that you want to do, that is going to dictate to you what gear you're going to need. But the first thing I would start off with saying is you need to have a decent bench of some description that also has a good woodworking vise on it. So that's a mandatory thing that you need. Now, as far as machinery and things like that goes, as I said, it really depends on what sort of work you're going to do. If you're going to do solid timber work only, sorry for the noise, if you're going to do solid timber work only, your list of requirements in machinery are going to be different to somebody who's doing panel work. So for argument's sake, if you're doing solid timber work, you might decide that you need a jointer, a rip saw, a bandsaw, and some kind of docking saw, whether that's a radial arm saw, a sliding compound miter saw. You might even decide that you want to have a little planer. If you're doing panel work, for argument's sake, you might only need a panel saw and that's it. And perhaps maybe a bandsaw, but you probably don't even need a bandsaw. A panel saw would probably get you by. But now, in saying that, for the first timer, do you need to have all of this stuff? The answer is no, you don't. You can get away with a circular saw will do just as much work and just as good a job for you as any kind of table saw will do. Obviously a table saw will do more and they're a lot more usable and that sort of thing, but you can do everything on a circular saw that you can do with a table saw. Do you need a bandsaw? No, not necessarily, because you can do probably 85–90% of the things with a jigsaw that you can do on a bandsaw. Bandsaws certainly make life easier, but you don't necessarily need one. Now, do you need a jointer and a little planer? Well, that all depends on what you want to do. If you want to dress rough sawn timber, then yes, you need a jointer and you need a planer. If you're buying in pre-dressed material, then really you don't need that. You could get away with an electric planer and you don't need a panel planer or a thicknesser because you're not dressing the material. So it really does depend on what you want to do with it. Most of the things for hobbyist woodworkers, most of the things that you see people using all come into the want category. They're not in the need category. Alright, now it may sound a little bit funny me saying things like that because I've got somewhere between 35–40 machines in this workshop. But as most of you have seen my videos know, we're a professional woodworking company. We're doing it for a living, so I need to be able to do things as quickly, the most efficient way that I can. And I'm machining large volumes of timber, so I need good heavy machinery that's going to be able to work all day every day, year upon year upon year. Now if you're just doing it as a hobby, you can get away with a lot less than what I can get away with. And to give you a brief example of that, when my dad worked on his own, he worked from home in quite a large shed, but he was limited to, in Australia, to single phase power, so 240 volt power. He had a 14-inch bandsaw The homemade table saw that I've done a video on, he had a 6-inch jointer, he had a DeWalt radial arm saw, and a homemade dowler which we still use, and that's pretty much it. And he worked year upon year upon year with just those few things. Adequately able to do everything that we still do here, but obviously because he didn't have the machinery that I have here, it would take him a significant amount more time to do it then. So point being is, if you're doing it for a living, you want to do it as quickly as possible. But if you're doing it for the love of it, or just the occasional project here and there, it doesn't matter how long it takes you to do it. So you don't need to spend stupid amounts of money to set yourself up to have a nice, efficient little workshop. Your best bet would be spending some money on some good hand tools that you need, like chisels and hand planes, tenon saws, things like that. And your battery drills and impact drive and drills. They're a must these days. So you set yourself up with those sort of things. You don't necessarily need to be spending $1,500 or a couple of $1,000 on a little 12-inch panel planer or thicknesser. You don't need to be spending, I don't even know how much they are, like a jointer or things like that. You don't need to be spending that. It's fine if you want to, and all power to you if you do want to, because the more machinery you have with things like that, the far easier it is for you to do your jobs. But all I'm trying to say here is, you don't need to spend all of that sort of money to get yourself by. But I will finish with this. What you do need to do is you need to develop your skills in using your hand tools and things like that, because that's what makes the woodworker. Using machines and having machines do everything for you, that doesn't make a good woodworker. Somebody who is good at using his hand tools and things like that, that's a good woodworker. That's what you want to concentrate on being able to do properly. And then later on down the track, when you can produce a half decent product, if you want to buy machines, go and buy machines. Anyway, just wanted to give you my 2 cents worth on setting up a little workshop. Oh, one thing I'll finish with actually that I didn't mention. Whatever machines you buy, set yourself up with a good little extraction system. You can't beat a good extraction system. I've got a massive system here, and I have a big outside bin that takes probably 85–90% of the mess outside. But I'm sure if you've watched any of our videos, you would have seen mess all over the floor. Woodworking is an exceptionally messy game if you're using machines, and we're using machines here all day every day, so the mess that it makes is unbelievable. So set yourself up a good little extraction system. Alright, have a good day and we'll catch you next time.